Okay, I have absolutely no idea whether or not any of this is actually working. Because I'm in my new studio, as you can see, and oh, thank you. Yeah, just move my screen over here. That was a lot of fun. Okay. Um, anyway, and it's a real mess. I have not been able to work things out exactly as I wanted to. So I'm using my AirPods. You can though see this is the studio space. Um, you can't see all of the mess that I've made of my desk here, but it's a lot of fun. If you are there and you are watching and you feel like helping me out, you can go ahead and try to chat. 2 weeks ago when I did this, it did not work. Um, So I'm hoping it works this week, but honestly, I don't know. So go ahead and give it a try whenever you get to hearing this and see. There has been a real hilarious everything going on for the past 2 months. I've been really busy, but once I moved into the studio here, I was expecting that things would go smoothly. Look at that, that's fun. I'm going gray here in my beard from all the troubles. But things did not go smoothly, which I could have guessed, It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, no duh. Like things never go smoothly as you expect. But they've gone even less smoothly than I had expected they would. So I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you a few stories. One was that I was I was expecting that I would be doing live streams in here, so I wanted to make sure that I had good internet. As far as I know, that is the one thing that is actually working right now is my internet. The video may not be that great, and my audio is whatever, but the internet I think is holding up. Um, so I still haven't heard anybody on the chat, so I don't know. You're probably trying to chat. If you are trying to chat and it's not working like it did 2 weeks ago, can you just send me a text and let me know how garbage it is? But for the time being, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. So, when I first got here, I moved in, and this was last Wednesday. I'd kind of moved in enough to where I could actually be in here and doing my live stream. And I had another Zoom meeting so I got onto the Zoom meeting, but I hadn't been able to get my internet worked out, and all I had here was Wi-Fi from my dad's office. Which, if you see that little spot right there, that's a little bridge walkway that goes over, and it just connects directly to my dad's office. So if I ever want to go and bother him, or he wants to bother me, we can do that. Um, so that's fun. But the Wi-Fi was so bad that I couldn't even do a Zoom meeting. So I was pretty much under the impression that if I would not be able to do a Zoom meeting, that I probably wouldn't be able to do a live stream, which I think is a pretty accurate assumption to make. Anyway, so I wanted Ethernet. Okay, so like I'd wanted an Ethernet cable directly into my computer so that I could have like a stable internet connection, that everything would be really good. But what happened was I've got the Ethernet plugged in, it's going right into the Ethernet port, no internet, no connection, whatever. So I spent like a day, and if you've ever gone through these things, you know how frustrating it is. Just banging my head, around, just on the internet, like forums, and of course, all the forums, they'll all say the exact same three or four things. Have you tried unplugging your router and plugging it back in? You're like, yes. And then getting down into like settings and all this other kind of stuff. I'm all thinking that there's an incompatibility with my computer and the Ethernet cable or whatever. I don't know because I don't know anything about this. I'm like, do I need to become like a IT professional in order to be able to troubleshoot my problem? Anyway, I was really frustrated, and that night I was talking to my mom and dad, and I was like, I had to leave and go to another place in order to do this meeting. And so I certainly can't do live streams from there. So I went and um, went into the router closet just on the off chance that the maze of wires that's in there, I might be able to make sense of any of it. And I was following wires around and I found this dangling wire that was right there that was just not plugged in. And it was to the, upstairs office data floor. And I was like, well, maybe this is it. So, and I had spent all day being so frustrated trying to download software so that I could use my audio equipment and other things like that. And so I'm sitting here trying to download those things and they're just failing. They're downloading and failing and 15% failing, 10% failing. So I decided plug it in, come up here, sat down at my desk, and I already knew that it was working because this thing that I had been trying to download all day that I kept failing to download was already like at 70%, like by the time I had come from downstairs to upstairs. And so I checked my speed test and everything was good. Now, everything else, though, is not so great. As you can tell, I'm on my AirPods and not on my microphone because I can't currently figure out how to get it run through to my computer because I have a preamp that is not functioning properly. And I'm really, really annoyed about it because I don't know what the problem is with that either. So it'll probably be another thing. I'm just going to have to like bang around. It's so annoying. I hate this stuff. This stuff really gets to me because I like to spend time. I don't mind spending time. I don't mind doing additional work, but it's just crazy when you're trying to do things that are requiring a lot of work, and then you have to, you have all this extra stuff that you didn't expect, and that's not. It's just stuff that not working the way it's supposed to work. So but that's the curse, and that's what God told us there would be with the thorns. I currently have 0 viewers and 0 views, so I'm wondering whether or not this is even working. Which, it probably isn't because it's the way things go. So, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, doing this stuff and trying to make this work is so tedious to me. But I don't know. It looks like I am live right now. So I guess just nobody, I guess I missed my window of opportunity. So that is a bummer. I don't really have anything to talk about today either. I was hoping that we would be able to get this running and working and that we would maybe be able to fix the chat situation. But it's not looking like anything is working on that end. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I should probably just quit. My friend Rusty is in town. Um, he and his wife came into town with their little baby, super cute, and I should probably be hanging out with them anyway. I don't know. For all I know, you guys are trying to watch and just can't. I This stuff drives me crazy. Okay, so whatever. It is what it is. I don't know why it is like this. I'll have to ask God when I get there. But I may just sign off and just have this be mercifully short, or I can, I don't know, I can do something else. But I mean, with 0 current viewers and it's been 15 minutes, maybe you guys just thought I wasn't going to do it today. Yep. All right. Well, I can tell you a little bit more about what's going on with the studio. So once I get the sound situation worked out, which, oh, you can't even
It's driving me crazy because I got this preamp and it's a really nice preamp, and I have another one at the other studio that I work at, and it works really well. And so, but I have not been able to use it so far because I have actually been doing all this other work trying to get things set up. And so I haven't had use of it yet, but I plugged it in. I tried to turn it on, and as far as I can tell, it's just not turning on. So it's fun. Um, but I also got to do, you can see this back wall here and the corners and everything. Um, I'm going to have to do some sound treatments. So I've gotten a fairly large palette actually of some what they call rock wool. It's like rock board insulation. It's kind of stiff insulation. It's not that fluffy stuff. It's a little bit denser. Um, okay, I think I might actually have a viewer. If I do have a viewer, there's someone on right now. Can you just type in the chat so that I can see whether or not that works? And don't even watch before then. It's just mostly me just talking about how frustrating it's been setting everything up. Um, Anyway, so I got to do some treatments. That's going to be a good bit of work too, but it's not work that I really mind, and I think it'll be kind of fun. I like doing handiwork type stuff. It's fun. So, um, one thing I talked a little bit about this last week, and I am still working on it. The idea of the sort of the way in which, in the short term, it seems like the goals of the powers have to violate their long-term goal seemingly in order to accomplish in the short term kind of where they're going. I, and one of the things that I have thought was a pretty good analogy that I kind of tried out with my kids to see if it worked for them was the idea of like a river, how a river takes a very circuitous route, and because of the limitations that we have, if you're on the path of a river, at any given moment, depending on where you are, you might have like a switchback or an oxbow or other things like that. And in those moments, it seems like you're pointed directly in the wrong direction. But then if you think, well, all I would really need to do was just continue going, and eventually it would go to its goal, if I just stick with it. Well, I think that that's sort of what happens with the ultimate goal. So, like, if the ultimate goal here is we're trying to get to goodness, but in the meantime, there's backtracking and such that has to happen, where we seemingly violating the values of goodness that we're purportedly going toward. And the same, I would say, goes for righteousness, and the same goes for truth as well. And so I thought that the river analogy was good, and it reminded me of other kind of journey ideas, like the Holy Spirit in the wilderness. Um, and God's in the wilderness, like worst navigator ever. I'm getting a call, so it's probably somebody telling me, oh, nope, it's probably one of the kids. Straight to voicemail, not one of my kids. All right. One of the kids trying to get in contact with one of my kids. They're gonna have to call somebody else. Anyway, so yeah, the Holy Spirit in the wilderness, it's kind of like God is the worst navigator ever. If you look at the, loop-de-loops and circle backs and switchbacks and all this other kind of stuff of the path that they took in the wilderness. And it's important to remember, like, that path was directly um, organized by God. So if you remember, like, the cloud of the presence, that was a fire by night and a cloud during the day. It was probably a fire all the time. It was just during the day you couldn't see the fire because you couldn't see it behind the clouds that it was producing. And then at night you could see that, oh, there's actually a fire producing this cloud. Anyway, all that to say, the cloud would rest on the tent of meeting, and And when the Holy Spirit was ready for the people to move, it would lift and start moving. And, they'd have to blow the trumpets and it's time to go. And everybody would pack their tents up. And then they would follow the cloud of God's presence until it came to rest. When it came to rest, they would set up camp around it, um, and they would actually set up camp where they would place the tent of meeting where the cloud was, and then the tent of meeting, which was like the tabernacle, was in the middle, and then everybody would camp, connected to that with it in the center. So the cloud of meeting was in the center, and I remember somebody actually drawing a picture of this on a board and saying it's actually an enormous cross because of the size of Judah in population, which is one of the reasons why Judah ended up getting a larger property inheritance. Judah was to the south or below the tabernacle, and they lined up and camped like below the tabernacle, so like they're a lot more populous, so they create this like long leg, and then on the sides you have the top and the sides taken up by the other tribes, and they are less populous. And so, because of that, there's sort of an uneven, it's not just like an even cross, it's actually like a cross, but the bottom is longer, like you would expect a cross to be, like we know. It was just pretty interesting because it means that the cross sort of moved around the wilderness. Um, Kind of interesting to think about. But what I started talking this, why I started talking about this is because the Holy Spirit dragged them all over the place. And that was God's direct plan, to drag them all over the place. And it'd be easy to say, well, he doesn't know where he's going. I'd say that that's just the way it is in life. Um, that in life in general, we just see so little that we don't know all the things that are being taken into account. So if you're just, in your little limited bubble trying to think, well, I don't feel like God's taken me in the right direction because currently I'm looking at my compass and this is pointing south and he said we were going north. And that may be the case for any length of time while you're going around your little oxbow or your switchback or whatever. Um, anyway, so it's it's helpful and important to keep that in mind. All right, so I do think that there are some people maybe watching at this point. So if you are, can you please send me a chat if you can? If you can't chat and you have my text, please text me and let me know. I may just end up having to not use this service because I thought it was going to be helpful and it was helpful for a period of time, but this is looking like not very helpful. Anyway, um, yep. So that's pretty much what I got for now. If anybody can get to the chat or whatever, just let me know if you have any questions or whatnot. Because I currently, I mean, I could look and see if I've had any questions that have been sent to me that um, I think would be good to talk about. Let me see. Let me see if Dan sent me any crazy big questions this week. I'm checking it out. Okay. I know. No. I'm really bad at this, guys. I'm not saying I'm sorry for it because I'm doing my best. But, hmm. Okay. No, not really. We have been sending some text back and forth, but nothing. No questions so far this week, which is fine. But I've got nothing. My brain is so empty and scattered right now, and it has been. I really don't like my mental state, actually. We've got so many different projects going on at the house, and the studio trying to settle in. I'm not used to this. I'm not used to to the equipment that's in here. I'm not used to anything. So I'm feeling very, very out of sorts. I'm feeling really discombobulated. And that's unfortunate. It's not conducive to me thinking, which I really do not like, but it is where God has put me right now, and I'm trying to accept it. It's just really challenging. All right. Well, I am going to let myself go because I don't want to do this anymore tonight. Um, and I'll try to figure out all this stuff for next week. If this, I don't know. Like I'll just try and work it out and figure out what I can figure out for not next week, but the week after. And yeah, this is a real Debbie Downer session. I am I'm hoping that if you are watching this and you are wondering if it's worth it watching the other ones, I think that they're better. I don't know. Like I don't actually know. Like this whole format feels so disconnected to me, and it is actually like my least favorite thing that I do for the podcast. I'm just trying to figure out a way of having like interactive conversations. The chat isn't even working though at all. And even when it is, it's super delayed. So I think this is maybe not the best. I don't even know, how do people do this? Like, how do people do this and actually have fruitful interactions? Um, I don't know. All right. Well, that was that was this week's live stream. I love you all. I hope that I can figure this out by 2 weeks from now. And I'm probably going to go live a few random times just to go ahead and see what I can work out. All right. Well, I will talk to you all later, and God bless you.